So what if I was to tell you that even though you're exercising and even though you're eating healthy, you might not be losing weight. In fact, you might be putting weight on. What? Scott, please, no. I've been working so hard for weeks and weeks and weeks. And you're telling me I'm not going to be losing weight? In fact, I haven't been. Help me. Okay, without needing a degree in medicine, an honours degree in science, an understanding of complex diets, I want to share with you three ways that from today, they will change the way that you look at yourself, your diet, and your fitness and nutritional goals. I promise you. Stick with me. I'll make it exciting. It might even be a bit funny as well. So let's dive into it. The first thing that I see athletes getting wrong, they count calories. But Scott, weight loss is all about calorie counting. Yes and no, okay? Because first of all, you're special. Oh yeah, you're only just trying to blow air up me. Yeah, of course I'm special. No, you are. You're unique. You are so unique. There is nothing else like you. In fact, there is no science that can tell us how you burn calories, how much you're going to burn. Yeah, we can get close, but even the best calorie counters, the best ways of measuring your BMR, without going into a bod pod in a university, we do not know. So the calorie equations that we create, there is a critical margin of error, around about 25%. Incredible, 25%. Wrong. Also, when you're counting calories, oh yeah, you've been doing it loads, haven't you? You've got your watch, you've got your heart rate strap, you've got your power crank. There is a margin of error. 60%, a lot of apps, 60% error in calculating how many calories you are burning. Even from a heart rate strap, which is a lot more accurate, there's still about 20% out. From a power crank, 10%. So it's a lot less than the 60, but it's still not, there's nothing that's perfectly accurate. So what you've got to understand was with that flexibility and accuracy, you've got to understand that what works for one person, it's not going to work for you. That's why there's 1,000,001 diets out there, fat-free, low-fat, carb-free, intermittent fasting, lock yourself in a cage and hold a lion at the cupboard. These diets, there's nothing that is going to give you the answers you want without you controlling a few facts and your own behavioural habits. Okay, that's really important to understand. What's going to work for you is unique to you. So you've got to find your way. And you've got to start by understanding that calorie count is bad. Okay, it's bad for you because most people fall into one item metabolic shock. So let me shock you with the shocking story of the metabolic shock athlete. So this athlete is a person who's training 5, 6, 7 times a week. They are eating healthy. They're cutting out sugar. They're cutting out processed foods. They are aware of the levels of fat that are going in. And they're meticulously planning their meals ahead of schedule. But they are falling below the basal metabolic rate. And not even meeting the needs of the exercise. This is okay at first, they lose weight. Why? Because calories in, calories out. There's such a big gap that they're hitting the 3,500 that they need for 1 pound of fat, and boom, this is great. Yeah, they're drinking plenty of water, they're doing okay. 3 weeks in, starting to feel a little bit tired. I'll ease back my training, have a little bit of recovery. I better eat less because I'm not exercising as much. So they fall dangerously low. Okay, let's take the average number. Okay, I see a lot of people fall below, which is around about 1,100, 1,200. But that's quite high, Scott. No, it's not. Not for somebody who's training and needing energy to fuel themselves per day. I'm going to let you into a little secret about a particular organ that only burns glucose later on in the video. Start thinking about it now. What organ in the body only burns on glucose? Can't use fat for fuel. And it needs about 500. There's an even bigger clue. It needs about 500 per day. So let's say they drop below that. Let's say they drop below 1,200. What happens is their body goes into shock. Why? Because the brain's thinking, well, wait a minute. I got that wee thought from them the other day in a dream that said they wanted to look like, that model in the bikini, or they wanted to look like that guy in that pose. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't think like that. It thinks survival. It goes back to prehistoric days. It thinks survival. Ma, not getting food. I must store high calorie dense substance. High calorie dense substance, Scott. What's that? Yeah. It's got 3 letters. Starts in F. The middle one's A and the last one's T. You know what it is yet? Yeah. Fat. It's going to store fat. Why? Because calorie dense. We're into survival mode. I'm not going to get much fuel, so I'm going to store the very thing you're trying to get rid of. But you've kept glucose low because you're sugar. Oh, low carb diet. I've got to be on that. Everybody's on a low carb diet. So where are you getting the fuel? Lean tissue. Lean tissue. Well, that sounds good, Scott. Lean. I like the name of that. Well, what's that? Muscle. So the very thing that you're trying to build to increase your basal metabolic rate, okay, because we all know that muscle, living, breathing, the more muscle that we've got, the more fibers we recruit, the higher our basal metabolic rate goes. So the fact that you're training, trying to put more muscle on, increase your basal metabolic rate, you are decreasing it even more because you're worried about calories and putting weight on. What's going on? It's crazy, isn't it? Stop counting calories because you're putting your body into metabolic shock. So what does that mean? Come on, Scott, training wise. So you train, stimulus, boom, body changes into, from what we call the anabolic phase, it goes into catabolic. Catabolic, think of it as catastrophe. It's in catastrophe phase. Immune system's suppressed, the body's requiring resources to adapt, to regenerate and grow stronger. But it's not getting them. You're not supplying them. So it stays catabolic longer. What's that going to look like? Well, it's going to be poor sleep patterns. It's going to be irritable, but I'm always moody. You might have been in metabolic shock for years, you miserable git. So get happier by eating better. But what's it going to mean on the bike? What's it going to mean training? Legs feel heavy. Here's a phrase I hear a lot from cyclists. Oh, it's not a good day for me today. Legs just don't have it. You idiot. You know, what are you talking about? It's because you're not fueling properly. You'll have more bad days than good days. The very thing that's driving you, your vigour, your motivation, is actually holding you back, because that's the very thing that's saying, I shan't eat that because that's weak. In fact, I'm going to get up tomorrow and I'm going to train fasted. Why? You've got no fuel. You can't punch through homeostasis and reach that new fitness level because you've got no energy. Your phone and your body, they fall into battery saver mode when there's low power. Battery saver mode and your phone's what? Apps are not working, your favourite game's not working. The screen even goes dull. That's you, Mr. or Mrs. Dull. That's what you've become. This dull excuse of a human being. But I can help you. We can fix it, right? We can fix it, right? Let's go back to that organ. So let's go back to glucose as a fuel, right? Let's go back to glucose. You worked out the organ yet? What is it? Guess what? It's your brain. 500 calories a day. We're going to get it from glucose. So Scott, you said about folk falling below 1200, 500, like about 600, 700. It's not enough, is it? It's not enough to fuel you forward, to keep you going for the day and just the basic requirements, and fuel the demands of the catabolic phase you're in to recover from the training. So here's what you do. Tip 1, let's get you eating higher density foods. Let's not worry about where the foods are coming from, because carbohydrates are essential for you exercising. The level that we have, let's break them into refined and unrefined, okay? Unrefined, what does that mean? It means it's coming out of the ground, it's coming off a tree, it's natural, it's not been changed, it's not been refined in any way. Potato, unrefined. A chip, a fry, refined. But the most important thing I want you to think about is the weight of food. We know from so many studies that a lot of people will actually eat a very similar weight of food, okay? But a cup of cashew nuts at 800 calories and 6 baked potatoes at 800 calories, guess what one's going to fill you up more? 6 baked potatoes. Same calories as a cup of cashew nuts. That bulk is what we need. Now we know that insulin is going to be a key factor here. Spiking in insulin, we know, after sugar, and how the muscle absorbs the glucose. Really, really important. And did you know that when we exercise and we do high resistance work and we do HIIT work, etc., the insulin's not needed for the muscle to absorb that glucose? You've got to subscribe to my channel, and in other videos I'll explain why that type of training, okay, is essential, and actually missing cardio out is going to be a game changer for some of you. But let's get back to these unrefined and refined carbs. So start to research. I'm not going to tell you what they are. Why? Because that's too easy. It's so easy to find. But if you stay with me to the end, I'll show you why I'm not telling you. It's a little secret and it will blow your mind how easy it is, right? So here's what you do. Unrefined, refined. Start to look at what you can grab from the trees. Well, you know that anyway, yeah? And how you can then bulk out your foods. Now, here's how you level out insulin to start with. Most people have the break, the fast, breakfast. So break the fast of the evening. Then we have lunch, we have evening meal. And we tend to go like that. Okay, like up a ramp. Smaller amount, I'm not too hungry. Well, a little bigger amount at lunch. And then the feast of the athlete at night. They'll feast out and gorge. Give me food. And they'll have this big plate. Well, did you know that in the stomach, the stretch receptors, really sensitive, they'll send messages to the brain, but there's a delay. And in some people, the delay is actually quite long. So they go beyond full before the brain says, tell the stomach to stop receiving food, please. Okay, there's a delay. So you've got to learn, right, okay, if I let myself get too hungry, what's going to happen? Not good, right? So what you're trying to do is level out the insulin, so you're constantly grazing during the day. This is where the term, 5 or 6 meals a day, smaller meals. So rather than going ramping up, you should try and, make it a steadier increase to begin with by having a breakfast, a mid-morning meal, lunch, another meal. So you're constantly thinking, what has the body got in stored fuel? Let's take the athletic term of 2 hours. It'll go 2 hours without needing to be fueled. So let's not try and have 2-hour periods whereby we're not fueling correctly. What's correctly? For you, this is, think of, in the beginning, high density foods. High density foods. So think of calorie, and don't think of calories essentially, think of nutrients, but think of the density of the foods, the size of it. Yeah. So for example, a bar of chocolate versus a plate of broccoli. Yeah. You're going to get similar levels of calories, but you're going to have a massive amount of broccoli for the chocolate. But I don't like broccoli, Scott. This is where you've got to say to yourself, you're not 10 years old having your dinner put in front of you. You have got to expand your exploration levels. You've got to explore food. You've got to understand the vastness out there of things that you've not tried. Now, I'm not saying that you need a huge variation of foods. No. There are diets in the world that we know of, certain people that live on very small amounts of foods, and they've got the highest levels of life expectancy in the world. But what you've got to understand is start to get more dense, more cleverer with the carbohydrates that you eat. Stop thinking that you need a protein shake after every session you've done, or that's going to be a meal. Wrong. We need to get real foods. Okay? Now, the next thing you've got to do is think of bulk again, but think of it through water. Most athletes I see are not actually fueling very well with water. So they'll maybe do indoor training sessions and they're not pre and post weighing in. Okay? Why would you do that? You're doing it for sweat loss. You're understanding that as we lose water, we're losing key minerals. These minerals are essentially sodiums, potassiums, magnesium, essential for body function. But we're going to get them from the richest nutrient food there is. Yeah, unrefined carbohydrates. Okay? So once you start to put your research together, you say, right, I understand this now. Did you know that in a study, back in about 2015, looking at folk that were finishing an Ironman World Championships, around about 10 hours, that they found that the range of sodium lost in the 10 hours was from 3 grams to 30 grams. Again, I'll go back to the point I made at the start. You are unique. We don't know exactly how each individual functions. But if you are losing a lot of sodium, for example, through your sweat, and you're drinking a lot, but you're not replacing the key minerals, guess what happens? Headaches, tiredness, irritable. Does this sound familiar, like the metabolic shock? So many people have these issues and are thinking, oh God, I'm just stressed out with this relationship that I'm in. It's got nothing to do with the relationship you're in. It's you not feeling well, so your clarity of thinking, because you're starving your brain, so it's making bad choices. Yeah, think about it. Okay, so you start to look at that. But water is essential because it bulks out. Stretch receptors. Water in the belly bulks you out. So drinking regularly can contribute. Having foods that have water removed out of them, these could lead to problems for you as well. So there's more research for you. Hey, this video is brilliant, isn't it? I'm giving you homework. Hey! The next thing, okay, and you've got to appreciate, I could talk all day about this. So that's why you need to be subscribed to the channel so that I can share with you all these great points. So the next thing that I want to give you with, this is the thing that's going to blow your mind. This is so simple. And this is where a lot of people get wrong. So they think, okay, I'm going on a diet. Let's kick that word into touch. Forget that. Your eating plan, we love food. We love eating. Let's not restrict ourselves. But I want you to look at what you're eating. Okay? Now, it's easy for me to say, what are the bad things? Right? What are the bad things in there? And you probably find them and you'll say, right, I'm never eating that again. I'm getting rid of all breads, all cakes, all crisps. They're going. Okay? And then half your cupboards are empty now as you start to remove them. No. Don't do that. Please don't do it. But Scott, how am I going to lose weight if I've got all that stuff in the cupboard? Here's what you do. Go back to what I've told you about the carbs. Go back to the water. Let's just start with that simple to begin with. And I want you to add in 1 or 2 foods that you haven't got at the moment, you haven't tried. They are unrefined carbs, right? They are rich in vitamins A and C. They're rich in source minerals, okay? They're rich in fibre. Why is fibre really important for us? Bulk. It creates bulk. What does bulk do? It fills you up, Scott. It fills you up, okay? Fills you up. What does that mean, Scott, in simple terms? Hungry, okay? Hungry. You become less hungry. There are certain hormones that kick in when we're hungry, okay? When we're low in fuel. They drive us to be hungry. Why? Brain, survival, homeostasis. Of course it's going to fool you into feeling hungry. What happens when you're hungry? You become the warrior. You must go foraging. And this is when most people usually go crazy on their diet and they go and eat the things they know they shouldn't be. So I want you to think of most wanted foods that you could add to your diet that are going to tick those boxes. Okay, that's great. I'm going to add them in. Have them high priority in the week. So maybe you're going to learn to cook with them. I can't cook, Scott. Learn. The ability to learn a new skill, develop an existing skill to a higher level will motivate you in more areas than you think. Getting fit is not about training more. Getting fit is about growing as a person. It's about developing all areas of your life, because that's what elongates motivation. Because there'll come a day when you're injured or sick and you can't train. How are you going to progress then if you haven't developed every other facet of life? Why do you think athletes suffer so much when they retire if they haven't invested in other areas? Okay, so don't fall into that trap. So most wanted, write the foods up, even make a funny little poster, like a wanted, poster from an old movie. You're going to add these foods in. Maybe you're going to spend a week with one. Maybe it didn't work. You'll add another one in the next week. Maybe you'll add 2 a week. Maybe you'll add 1 a fortnight. It doesn't matter, because guess what happens? Here's the foods that are adding to the value of your diet. So they're bulkier. They're less calorie dense, but increase in weight themselves. So they fill you up more. They've got key nutrients in there. They're helping you progress through that catastrophe period. They may be low in inflammation, okay? The foods at the bottom end that you're thinking, they're not too good, but I love them. I love the taste of them. Guess what happens? You add more of these, they start to shift, okay? These become priority, and they disappear out the screen. They become less of a focal point because you start to understand and take on board the positivity of the healthier foods. Suddenly, they're less in the shopping. They're less in the cupboards. If they're not in the cupboards, you can't eat them. Remember, to make or remove, a bad habit, make it almost impossible for the action to happen. So try and remove the ability to perform that habit and start performing better habits. It's that simple. Okay, I'm going to shut up now because I've driven you insane with happiness. Get me in the next video for some more great tips on how you can boost your fitness, your nutrition, your mindset. And remember, anyone can train hard, but there's only a few folk can train smart.